Aloha, everyone. Thank you for joining me for Java. It's Friday, so happy Friday, November 10th, 2023. And tomorrow, technically in the United States, on the 11th, is the celebration of Veterans Day in remembrance of all those that served their country. So I would like to put out a shout out to that. And let's get into the markets and what's going on. So we've got our favorite risk indicator is the MMRI. It's going back into the extreme territory again, a little above 305 at the moment. So, what happened yesterday, in case you missed it, Fed Chair Jerome Powell did come out and made some comments. And basically, what he said was regarding the interest rate hikes that they're not off the table. We'll go into that in a minute. But with that, the 10-year yield started rising again, and the relative strength of the dollar both caused the stock market to kind of take a hit across the board. We also saw gold pull back a bit, and the volatility index increased. So that broke their winning streak that they've had going on for a while now. So we do get formal Michigan sentiment numbers a little later today at 10 a.m. But right now, the current sentiment for the markets are a neutral to negative continuance. So as I said prior to this, we are basically hadn't quite broken that downtrend that we're in. So I expect that we're going back into that downtrend overall, a larger downtrend for the markets. So today, as I said, we get consumer sentiment at 10 a.m. And other than that, a few Fed speakers ahead of holiday weekend. And so we're kind of going to go into, I think, kind of a muted day for the most part. So going on with what's been happening, yesterday there was a ransomware attack, they're saying, against the largest Chinese bank, ICBC. And they're saying it was so large that it disrupted the US Treasuries market and they had to trade actually on a USB stick. It got that bad. So, and they are blaming the Russians for this attack initially. I don't know how much evidence they have of this or what's going on. Again, I think this is a smokescreen personally because as we watched, now the Fed has kind of stepped aside and the Treasury sales are not going well. That's another thing that affected the markets is because the US is not able to sell their debt on the open markets as easily as they used to in the past. So they're basically losing markets there. So as I said, the equities and stocks dropped basically as he talked about those rate hikes. So yeah, they had to trade on a USB stick for the treasuries, largest market in the world. And it just, I know there's been large attacks before, but it just seems like it would be a little more redundant and resilient than that. So anyway, moving on, we are now again looking at possibility of U.S. government shutdown. So I think they've got the new Speaker of the House in, and they can't really. I think this is more kind of smoke and mirrors type of distraction for what's going on. They cannot afford to have this issue again. They will raise the debt ceiling as they always do. They've got to spend, they've got to inflate, they've got to continue inflating in order to support the system. They're having a liquidity price crisis at the moment. There's not enough cash flowing around, hence the reason for the cover stories about the treasuries market. And I think they're really showing some severe instability in this debt market, and it could hit at any time. So that's why we've been warning about getting your money out of the banks. And along with that, we've got this story about banks dumping more customers without any warnings. Basically, they're just kind of signing people off because they are in the midst of not just bank runs, liquidity crisis, but also with these other issues going on. Another reason about the possible government shutdown in the United States. It cannot continue because they are risking downgrade with the final credit agencies. If that happens, that increases their debt cost on their national debt even further, which would cause some real issues. So, moving on to energy and oil in particular, the story here basically not just the explainer about the expanding oil trade with the top buyer, China. So, China purchases mostly currently from Russia and also South America, but this is a black market play, basically, and kind of another play into the wars that are going on because all wars are bankers' wars and they're all bankrolled and funded into oil. So, this is another reason why I say oil is not going to be allowed to fall below a certain point, and not just on a demand. But what they're trying to do right now is they are manipulating these prices to quote unquote punish the Middle Eastern countries that are pricing these barrels of oil. This is all manipulated. So we'll be watching this, and I think that oil will recover and it will also increase inflation in the long run. If you disagree with me or have a different view, please leave it in the comments. I'm not right on everything, but I just want to bring this point of view out because you won't see it in the news. But as we all know, they've been caught manipulating precious metals, currencies. Now they're starting into other commodities and manipulating the prices, particularly for their geopolitical schemes. So, moving on, we've got another story, and this is on the other side with India. So, this is with the currency wars. The largest bank are speculating, and I think this story is from their view, that they're likely selling dollars in order to limit the rupee's fall. So their currency is weakening. They're talking about purchasing back their currencies in order to strengthen it and not getting out of the dollar. And I think it's more a combination of both because they are, main player in the BRICS nation. And with all of the issues going on with the treasuries, this is the larger market playing out on a global scale. The real wars that are going on in the background of everything that they are barraging uh, the public with, as far as with mainstream media, about what's going on both sides, dividing people so that they don't pay attention to what's really going on. So we were also watching cryptocurrencies are having a run. And BlackRock, we know, so we're in that window of 8 days. This is day two, basically, of them being able to approve 12 spot ETFs. So BlackRock is now putting through their Ethereum spot ETF. So as these come in, they're bringing in the large money, meaning the pension funds, investment banks, as this happens. So keep an eye on that. It is creating a current run for all of the cryptocurrencies. Uh, the other one was Bitcoin. This one is Ethereum, but these are the two larger ones. And as they say, a rising tide floats all ships. So we will watch an increase across the board. This is a story going along with cryptocurrency I wanted to bring up. The main one, and I had spoken about this last month, we were talking about JP Morgan. How he started off bashing cryptocurrencies on several occasions, talking about how terrible they are. Well, now JP Morgan Chase has a JPM coin. They've got their own coin they are trading with. And this is they're talking about to increase the speed of transfers and payments within their own bank. So in the front they say one thing, but on the back end they do something else. So this is just kind of typical. So they do hold cryptocurrencies, even regardless of what they say. They don't want you owning them. And I know cryptocurrencies are not for everybody, but I just want to bring this out that what they're saying on the front about how terrible it is and the stories are floating out are not necessarily what's actually going on. I've got one lava update I wanted to bring it about because this is always like a predecessor to, we've got some larger things that are going on there, talking about with the European Union a couple of weeks ago, and also some of the seizures that were going on to Russian citizens, warning them. So the breaking down of the travel, this is usually prior to action that they have to get their citizens out. They're warning them about traveling to the United States, saying basically that the United States has now become hostile to Russian citizens And that's, we've seen quite a possibility about these things happening. So anyway, I wanted to bring that up. With that, I wish you all a green trading day, just a wonderful day in general, great long weekends if you do celebrate. And until I see you again, my friends, the focus of all of this is freedom. So until then, stay free.